When a legend meets the future on German grass. 80 minutes. That was it. That was the entire lifespan of one of the most watchable duos on the WTA Tour this year, unfolding on the lush green lawns of the Bad Homburg Open before everything vanished into the German summer breeze. Venus Williams and Alex Eala, 46 years old and 21 years old. 7 Grand Slam singles titles versus 0, but nobody cared about that when these two women stepped onto the court together. And here is what most people missed. This wasn't just an ordinary doubles match. This was a historical moment that happened in silence. No fanfare, no special cameras, no one sitting down to explain to you what you had just witnessed. But Pro Tennis 360 does. And today, we will show you the entire picture, from the statistics to the emotions that no sports news outlet bothered to stop long enough to capture. The match result? A 6-3, 6-2 loss to Miholikova and Nichols. Sounds straightforward, but why could that defeat be one of the most beautiful moments of the entire grass court season? The answer does not lie on the scoreboard. It lies in the story behind it. The story of a 21-year-old girl from the Philippines and the woman who opened the door for her to walk through. If this is your first time tuning in to Pro Tennis 360, hit subscribe right now so you don't miss the deep dive analyses you won't find anywhere else. Because here, we don't just watch tennis, we read tennis differently. And today's story, it deserves to be told the right way. The numbers behind the 8-0 MIN heartbreak. Let's look at the real scoreboard, not to judge, but to understand. 6-3, 6-2, 2 sets, 80 minutes, and an end that came so quickly the crowd in the stands could barely believe their eyes. But here is the interesting part. The match didn't start as a disaster. In the first set, Venus and Eala led 3-2. The crowd was roaring. This duo looked like they belonged. Then, everything collapsed. 6 consecutive games lost without a trace. 6. From a 3-2 lead to a 3-6 loss, and then 0-2 in the blink of an eye. Now look at the statistic that truly hurts. Throughout the match, Eala and Venus generated 4 breakpoint opportunities. 4 times the door cracked open. They converted exactly once. Meanwhile, Miholikova and Nichols had 3 breakpoint opportunities, and they didn't miss a single one. All 3. Perfect conversion. That is the entire match summed up in 2 numbers. When opportunities came to the legendary duo, they couldn't seize them. When opportunities came to the pair across the net, they kicked the door down. But here is the perspective few have considered. Did this truly have to be a failure? Look across the net. Teresa Miholikova and Olivia Nichols were not a makeshift pairing. They had played 9 consecutive tournaments together. 9. And just a few weeks before Bad Homburg, they lifted the trophy at the Queen's Club Championships, one of the most prestigious grass court events leading up to Wimbledon. This was a doubles machine sharpened through hundreds of hours of coordination. Every movement, every decision at the net, every volley had been repeated until it became pure instinct. And Venus and Eala? How long had they known each other before stepping onto the court? About 24 hours. You cannot buy chemistry with fame, and not a single Grand Slam in Venus Williams' trophy cabinet could replace hundreds of hours of shared practice with the partner beside her. That is the harsh reality of doubles tennis. And it isn't unfair, it is simply the truth.
Who is Alex Eala and why you need to know her right now? Before we talk about this encounter, we need to pause for a moment and truly understand where Alex Eala was at the exact moment she entered Bad Homburg. Because if you only recently learned her name, you have missed a lot. In 2025, on grass, Alex Eala was one of the absolute hottest players on the entire WTA Tour. Not rising, not showing potential, genuinely on fire. In June, she won the WTA 125 title in Birmingham, not by luck, but by defeating legitimate opponents on real grass courts. Then she went to Berlin, and she reached her first career WTA 500 semifinal, defeating Alina Svitolina, a top 10 player in the world, along the way. Eala's pre-Wimbledon grass court record summary: 9 wins, 2 losses, 9-2. On grass, the surface people always say is the most unpredictable, favors serve and volley, is not the terrain for baseline players. Eala didn't read any of that. She just went out and played tennis. And then came this. Because of that stellar record, Alex Eala entered Wimbledon 2025 as the 29th seed. The first ever seeded player from the Philippines at a Grand Slam. The first in the entire history of the sport. A nation that had never had a player at this level, a country where tennis has always been a luxury dream, was about to see one of their own walk into the All England club with her name officially on the seeding board and a first-round bye. Can you imagine what that means? Not just to her, to an entire nation. And this is precisely why the moment she chose Venus Williams as her doubles partner at Bad Homburg, even for just one tournament, even if temporarily, carried the weight of something far greater than a mere pre-Wimbledon warm-up pairing. Venus Williams, the one who built the road Eala is walking on. To understand why this duo is so special, you need to know that Venus Williams is not just a legendary player. She is the architect of the era that Alex Eala currently exists in. Venus Williams, 49 singles titles, 5-time Wimbledon champion, 22 doubles titles, 14 of those at Grand Slams, former world #1 in both singles and doubles. And here is the number that gives everything real depth. Venus Williams has won more Grand Slam doubles titles than the number of years Alex Eala has been alive on this earth. She began conquering world tennis before Eala even existed. But Venus's importance does not lie solely in golden trophies. Alongside her sister Serena, Venus Williams is the person who changed how the world perceives women's tennis. They were the ones who proved that power, strength, identity, and priorities did not need to be compromised, even on the pristine white courts of the All England Club. They opened the door, not just for themselves, for everyone who followed. And Alex Eala knows it. When asked how it felt to play alongside Venus, Eala did not give an empty diplomatic answer. She said it straight. Venus is a true trailblazer and continues to be. I often say that women's tennis paved the way for women's sports, and she is a massive reason why that happened. Read that again. Not casual praise, not a polite response. Those are the words of a young athlete looking at someone they genuinely revere and speaking from the heart. Eala grew up in a world that Venus Williams helped create. A world where a young Filipina girl could dream of Wimbledon, not as a fantasy, but as a reachable goal. And then at Bad Homburg, she didn't just meet Venus Williams, she stood right beside her, as a teammate, on the very same grass. That wasn't just tennis, that was a circle closing. The first night's magic and the cruelty of doubles. Before the defeat happened, there was one night where everything worked perfectly.
The round of 16 at Bad Homburg. Venus and Eala stepped onto the court and played as if they had been partners since last year, 4-0. They led 4-0 right from the start. Eala moved nimbly along the baseline. Venus commanded the net as if she had never left this surface. The crowd stood up. The energy in the stadium erupted in the way only genuinely special moments can trigger. They won 6-3, 6-4. Venus Williams personally served out the match. For one night, the dream became reality. And then, 24 hours later, it was gone. That is the true cruelty of doubles tennis. It's not the loss, it's not the 6-2 scoreline. It's the fact that you saw it work. You got a taste of what these two could accomplish together. And then it stopped before you could fully comprehend what you were watching. But here is the perspective few stop to think about. Doubles tennis is a sport of familiarity, not raw talent alone. Mahalakova and Nichols had weathered 9 tournaments together, hundreds of pressure points, thousands of minor adjustments that no one remembers afterward, but the body records.
When you have played with someone that much, you begin to anticipate where they will move before they even take a step. That isn't luck. That is the result of time. Venus and Eala did not have that time. 24 hours and a warm-up match with instant chemistry was enough to win the round of 16, but not enough to overcome opponents who had 9 tournaments of synchronization under their belts. That does not diminish the value of what they created. If anything, it enhances it. Because capturing instant chemistry like that round of 16 match with only 24 hours of acquaintance is not something just anyone can do. The magic existed. It just didn't last long enough this time. The acknowledgement from across the net. Post-match press conference clip of Mahalakova speaking, subtitle on screen, quiet, respectful tone, no dramatic music, let the words breathe. And here is something that even those who defeated them could not pretend to be casual about. After the win, after eliminating the duo of Venus Williams and Alex Eala from the tournament, Teresa Mahalakova did not celebrate in typical victorious fashion. She stood before the microphone and said this: "To play against Venus, or maybe against Serena at Wimbledon, that is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Whether you want to or not, it's there in your head. But they are really excellent players, both of them, and it was a tough match." Did you notice anything? The person who just beat them didn't celebrate a triumph. She acknowledged the privilege she had just been granted. That is not the language of an ordinary winner. That is the language of someone who knows they just stood inside a moment that not everyone gets the chance to experience. Once in a lifetime. That was the exact phrase Mahalakova used to describe standing across the net from Venus Williams. And she won that match. But even in victory, she understood that what mattered more was not the scoreline, but the person she was facing. Now think about what that says about this side of the net. If your opponents, the ones who just defeated you, step outside and describe playing against you as once in a lifetime, then you did something right. Even in defeat. Venus Williams does not need to win to command a room. She does not need to lift a trophy to make her opponents revere her. At 46 years old, still taking the court, still doing enough to make a winner say once in a lifetime, that says everything that needs to be said about what true greatness is. And standing next to that greatness,
Alex Eala, 21 years old, experiencing a WTA grass tournament at this level in this manner for the very first time. Standing next to someone whom their very opponents view as once in a lifetime. Win or lose, there are moments measured by something other than points. 2 directions and the light of Wimbledon. After Bad Homburg, these 2 women headed in 2 different directions, and both directions led to Wimbledon. Alex Eala, the 29th seed, a first-round bye. Her name etched onto the official seeding board of the All England Club, the first time in history for a player carrying the Philippine flag. Understand what that means in practical terms within the tennis world. Being seeded means the WTA recognizes you as one of the strongest competitors in the tournament. It means you avoid high-seeded players in the opening rounds. It means you are granted a round to find your rhythm, to feel the grass surface before the truly brutal part begins. And for Eala, who was entering Wimbledon with a 9-2 form on grass, this wasn't just a title. This was a genuine opportunity. She spoke about it herself upon learning she was seeded. To be seeded at a Grand Slam, and Wimbledon specifically, to me, that hits very close to home. Close to home. For her and for an entire nation watching. And Venus? Venus Williams went straight from Germany back to London not to rest, but to prepare for something the entire tennis world had been waiting for. Serena Williams was returning. After a 4-year absence, Serena Williams accepted a wild card to play doubles at Wimbledon 2025, alongside her sister Venus. The first time since 2016 that the Williams sisters would stand side by side on the most sacred grass in the sport. 6 Wimbledon doubles titles together, a London 2012 Olympic gold medal, and now once more. That is where Venus was heading.
a final chapter that could become the most beautiful moment of an entire career. Two players, two paths, the exact same destination, Wimbledon. This is not just about tennis. Let's pause here, because this is when we talk about what actually matters. This is not just about a doubles match lost in the quarterfinals, and it's not just about rankings or seedings or WTA points. This is about the meaning of true sporting moments. Think about what happened in those brief 3 weeks. A 21-year-old girl from the Philippines, a country where elite tennis remains a luxury in the imagination of many, conquered the European grass season, defeated top 10 players, won a WTA title, and then stood beside one of the greatest athletes in the history of the sport. Not for a photo op, not to receive an award, but to play an actual doubles match as genuine teammates. Can you imagine how that feels? Not just for Eala, but for the Filipino children watching her, for the young girls holding rackets in Manila, in Cebu, on small tennis courts in places where the name Wimbledon is still an alien concept. Seeing one of their own standing next to Venus Williams on German grass, and then entering Wimbledon with her name written on the seating board. That is what sports truly accomplishes. Not numbers, not gold trophies. It shows the youth that the path exists. Venus Williams knows this better than anyone. She and Serena lived that exact version, arriving in places where people said, "You don't belong here," and proving the exact opposite. And now, near the end of her career, she stood next to a young athlete doing the exact same thing, just from a different corner of the global map. This is the most memorable takeaway about the Venus-Eala partnership at Bad Homburg. They didn't need to win to leave a mark. They just needed to show up together. And they did.
The unspoken lessons after the match. Every loss has something to teach, if you are willing to listen. The Bad Homburg quarterfinal of Venus and Eala offers at least 3 lessons that the tennis world should remember. Lesson 1. In doubles, time matters more than talent. Mihalikova and Nichols were not necessarily better tennis players in an absolute sense, but they were a true team, with hundreds of scenarios repeated until they became pure reflexes. When you have played with someone long enough, you no longer need to communicate, you just know. That is something fame cannot buy. Lesson 2. Converting just 1 out of 4 opportunities is a costly deficit. Eala and Venus had their chances. They had 4 breakpoints. But tennis at this level does not forgive wastefulness. In tightly contested elite matches, the winner is the one who capitalizes on fewer opportunities, not the one who generates more. That is the difference between potential and execution. Lesson 3, and perhaps the most important. Not every moment of significance ends in victory. There are matches you lose, but what you learn, what you feel, and what you take home is worth far more than any prize check or title. For Eala, standing beside Venus Williams, even for just 2 matches, is a piece of her journey that cannot be replaced by any other victory. Because greatness is learned through proximity to those who walked the path before you. Not from books, not from videos. From standing next to them, observing, feeling the pressure, and seeing how they handle that pressure at the absolute closest distance possible. 2 doubles matches with Venus Williams taught Eala things that no practice session could ever give her. And that, by any meaningful metric, is not a failure. The torch is passed, and the grass season marches on. 20 years from now, no one will remember the 6-3, 6-2 scoreline. But they will remember this. There was a week at Bad Homburg in 2025 where the woman who defined women's tennis for a generation and the woman who is defining it for the next generation stood side by side. Not on a podium, not in an interview, but on an actual competitive court under the German summer sun with a net between them and a ball in flight. That was the moment the torch was passed. No fanfare, no grand declarations. Just 2 tennis players, 2 generations, together for a brief window before each continued on her own path. Venus headed to London, to Wimbledon, where she has forged her legend time and again, this time to write a final chapter with Serena worthy of everything they created. Eala also headed to London, but this time with her name on the seeding board, number 29, the first seed in Philippine history at a Grand Slam. A nation watching. A 21-year-old girl carrying the dreams of millions in every single strike. And the story, the real story, is not over. It is only just beginning. That is what we at Pro Tennis 360 always believe. The biggest moments in tennis are not always found in trophies and headlines. They live in afternoons like Bad Homburg, moments that, if you don't stop long enough, you will miss entirely. If you want to continue following Alex Eala's journey at Wimbledon and all the stories behind the numbers that mainstream media fails to tell, subscribe to Pro Tennis 360 today. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Because the grass season isn't over, and the best story might be yet to come.